YouTube, what's poppin', baby, and welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Chef Zay, and today I didn't really have much ideas for what I wanted to post for a video, but I had to just get one out because I'm in the swing of things right now. I feel weird if I didn't upload a video today. So make sure you guys press that subscribe button, smash that subscribe button, and also smash the like button one time so we can get this, recommended by YouTube. But today we just gonna do a quick little video, ranking the top 10 worst. Yeah, I know. A lot of people are like, why do you always like to go down this memory lane? There isn't many memory lanes Cleveland Browns fans can go down. So we got to just enjoy the misery because the horizon is so bright. We ain't going to remember. I'm lying. We going to remember everything. But what I'm saying is good things are to come. So let's just go ahead and revisit this one last time before sun shines and rainbows for Cleveland, baby. So this is ranking the top 10 worst NFL draft picks since '99, starting with an honorable mention spot. We're gonna go honorable mention to Cameron Wembley. Looking back at the 13 draft, there wasn't there wasn't a lot of other guys that you could probably get with this value. Wait, what draft was that? That was 2006, not 13. My bad. In the 2006 draft. So he just didn't live up to the expectation. I do remember when we drafted him, how hyped they were because they thought he was going to be some elite pass rusher. Turns out he wasn't. So honorable mention to Cameron Wembley. So coming in at our 10th spot, we got pretty boy himself, Brady Quinn. When you look back at the draft, I mean, you got 3 Hall of Famers in the draft. Honestly, Brady Quinn got drafted at 22. This was also the same draft that Joe Thomas went. So you kind of cut the Browns some slack here with drafting him. After Brady, I mean, besides Greg Olsen and John Beeston, there wasn't much. Now, Dwayne Bowe in Kansas City was good. He wasn't good here in Cleveland. I'm sure a lot of people wouldn't want Dwayne Bowe no matter what, especially after he robbed us freaking blind with all that money. But, Brady Quinn thrown into the fire like every other quarterback that's come here. Let's just be honest. And never really lived up to the NFL hype that the hype was like in college. He is a great college analyst now, so, shout out to him in his college analyst career now. But, we wish we could have had him. Everyone probably has a Brady Quinn jersey laying around somewhere in their jersey. Fortunately, I was one of the people that didn't get a Brady Quinn jersey. I never really liked Brady Quinn that much, so he takes the number 10 spot. Coming in at our 9th spot, we got Trent Richardson. Now, Trent Richardson, I know everyone was hyped when we drafted Trent Richardson. I mean, how could you not be hyped? I just remember watching the same clip over and over and over again. It was like the only clip that it wasn't the only clip that they played, but it was the only clip that you always saw. And that was the one where he was on the sideline right at the 3-yard line and hit that little stutter step and made dude fall, scored a touchdown. We thought we was getting Adrian Peterson. We all thought we were getting Adrian Peterson. Obviously, Robert Griffin and Andrew Luck go 1 and 2 in that draft. There was a lot of talk that the Browns would potentially trade up to the number 2 spot to get RG3, but I remember that price being way too high, and I believe Washington gave up you want to talk about a boatload of picks. They gave up the farm to get RG3. But you look back at who they could have gotten. Oh, my God. I mean, Stephon Gilmore, Melvin Ingram, Chandler Jones, Harrison Smith. I mean, Ryan Tannehill. Hey, we didn't have a quarterback. Ryan Tannehill would have been decent. Luke Kuechly. I mean, Fletcher Cox. There were a lot of good players in this 2012 draft. And he did give, but it's not all bad with Trent Richardson because he did end up getting us a first-round pick in return in a trade to Indianapolis. And he did have at least one decent season with us. So we did get to enjoy him for about a year. So he comes in at our number 9 spot. Now going to number 8, we're going to go to 2015. And this is arguably one of the worst drafts, just period, because we had 2 first-round picks. And oddly enough, they come back to back in this order at 8 and 7, and number 8 goes to Danny Shelton. I don't think he was as bad as the person following him. And if you know that draft, you know Cam Irving is the guy right after him that we drafted at the 19th pick. So Danny Shelton's going to come in at number 8. Irving's going to come in at number 7. Obviously, they both went on to get Super Bowl rings with different teams. Shocker, I know, right? Another Browns player, former Browns player, getting a Super Bowl ring. It never seems to amaze me. But Danny Shelton just never really quite lived up to his hype. A lot of these guys just never lived up to the hype. We all hyped ourselves up. Oh my God, he's this big, huge guy. He's going to stuff the run and this and this. And they do nothing. They do none of that. And it's just like, how do you miss on that? But, you know, again, you look back at the draft. And, I mean, you could have had Marcus Peters, Melvin Gordon, Devontae Parker, Shaq Thompson. I mean, Demarius Randall was at 30. I mean, there wasn't a lot you could go to and be like, yeah, they clearly missed this guy. But when you got 2 first-round picks in a draft, man, you expect to hit on at least one of them. And the fact that you couldn't hit on Danny Shelton or Cam Irving was just... I know we all remember how bad he was. Penalty after penalty. Oh, false start? Oh, no, holding. Yeah, that was a hold. And it always was Cam Irving. It was so frustrating. And then what happens? He goes over, I believe it was Kansas City, and wins a ring. What does Danny Shelton do? Go to New England, wins a ring. So that closes at our 8th and 7th spot. And going to number 6. This is where things start to this is where your stomach starts to turn a little bit more, because it truly is amazing. It truly is amazing how bad we are at drafting. But the reason why I kind of did this video today, I did see someone dropped a worst draft of all time, and this was the draft class that was the worst all time. So 2013, we took Barkevious Mingo with the 6th overall pick. Now, you look back on this draft, and there wasn't much to write home about, but you missed out on guys like Cordell Patterson, DeAndre Hopkins, Xavier Rhodes, Tyler Eifert, Sheldon Richardson, Tavon Austin. Those are just a few of the guys in the first round that you could have took instead of Barkevious Mingo. I remember when he came in, he was this fast linebacker that was supposed to be good in coverage and this and that, and come to find out he was none of that. It looked like, I think I vividly remember how clueless he used to look on the field. You'd be like, what the heck is he doing? Like, how did you get this far? I feel like that's what I remember. But guess what? He went on to New England and got himself a Super Bowl, right? I mean, it's just... it's funny how Bill Belichick can just, literally take one man's trash and turn it into a treasure. Like, it truly blows my mind how we just can't figure it out. So he comes in at our number 6 spot, and coming in at number 5, we got number 1 overall pick. And I feel like he wasn't terrible with... Oh, he wasn't number 1 overall. I'm sorry. He was the 3rd overall pick. And he wasn't terrible with us. I actually have a cool story about him. Gerard Warren. He was a defensive tackle. He was supposed to be, again, an elite run stopper. And when you take him at number 3 and you pass up on guys like Richard Seymour, LaDainian Tomlinson, Steve Hutchinson, Hall of Famers, Reggie Wayne, Todd Heap, Deuce McAllister, I mean, Santana Moss. When you pass up on guys like that, it makes you just think, like, what the hell were we doing? What were we thinking? Who was in that draft room was like, yeah, Gerard Warren is our guy over LaDainian Tomlinson? Or Richard Seymour. I don't understand it. I really don't understand it. But I do have a cool story about Gerard Warren. After a home game, we were driving back from the game, and we were on the freeway, and there was this silver, I think it was a Porsche. I think it was like a 911 Porsche. And I'm like, I'm young, I'm double take. I'm like, that's Gerard Warren. He's like, that's not Gerard Warren. So the guy that I was with speeds up a little bit. And sure enough, Gerard Warren's arm hanging out the window. I'm like, good game, Gerard. And he just shucks up the deuce and just freaking floors it and just takes off. And he's like, I cannot believe that was Gerard Warren. We were just so shocked that we just saw an NFL player. And come to find out, I think he got released or traded that next year or something like that. I don't remember. That was so long ago. 2006 we're talking about, but or 2000 we're talking about. 2001. Jeez, oh God, look, that's how far it was. 2001. I wanted to be closer because I feel like I'm about to be 30, y'all. I'm about to be 30. But anyway, coming in at number 4, we have the number 1 overall pick, Courtney Brown. I mean, looking back at the draft, obviously this wasn't a great draft, but when you get the number 1 overall pick, man, you at least expect to get something of it right. Like Courtney Brown, the one thing that I remember about Courtney Brown is the year where there was a penalty and the ref threw the flag and it hit Courtney Brown in the eye. And I think he picked the flag up and threw it back at the ref or something like that, and he got ejected. And I remember vividly the camera scrolling on to Courtney Brown's eye and just how big his eye was. That's the one thing that I remember with Courtney Brown. There was one Hall of Famer in this draft, Brian Urlacher. But there was guys, Sean Alexander, Chad Pennington, Sebastian Janikowski. You're going to take a kicker with the first overall pick? I mean, the Browns would, right? The Browns probably would have. Jamal Lewis. So you can't knock them, I guess, because it's not like you missed out on all these guys, but it just sucks that when you get the first overall pick, you don't capitalize on it. So he takes the number 4 spot. Now, this is where in most recent memory, I think why I have them ranked so high, just because of the bet. I ain't even going to explain. I'm just going to say number 3, Corey Coleman. Corey freaking Coleman. I don't even know where to start with this guy. You want to talk about an overly hyped prospect. Oh, he's the fastest guy in the draft. He's going to be a steal for him. Oh, my God, it's going to fit so well with this offense. Hugh Jackson's going to get the most out of him. Da-da-da-da-da. And I remember him, I believe it was the first game of the year. I actually was there at that game, if I'm not mistaken, against the... was it the Ravens or the Steelers? Either one of them. I believe Josh McCown ended up throwing 2 touchdowns to him, and I believe the next week he got injured, or shortly after that he gets injured. And that then we should have known that it was like, oh, yep, this is too good to be true. Because after that, I mean, it was completely downhill. There was no momentum for him. I think everyone remembers the Hard Knocks and, hey, if you're not going to use me, trade me. And then, I mean, who doesn't remember the drop pass versus Steelers? That's the one thing that I'm thinking about. I'm trying not to just blow my head off the top, because it's like, blow my head off the top. Blow my top off the head. Because that was the most disgusting thing ever. Kaiser, broken down play, scrambling, looking, fires, in his hands, dropped. And caps off one of the worst seasons, the worst season in Cleveland Brown history. Yeah, let me stop thinking about that. Corey Coleman, you get the 3rd spot. But I don't think he was bad. He was really bad. But when you want to talk about the worst draft picks the Browns have ever made, they're back-to-back in the same exact year. 2014. I think we all know where I'm going with this one, right? We all know where I'm going with this. Cleveland, we here! Matter of fact, let me look up what he said. Let me see what he said. I want the exact quote for what he said. Because we took Justin Gilbert at number 8, which Justin Gilbert or Johnny Manziel is going to be number 2. Gilbert's going to be number 1. I remember, where is it? I want to find the exact quote. Johnny Manziel gets drafted, and I believe Justin Gilbert was on his way in to Cleveland, and there was a quote. He puts his head out and he yells, "Cleveland, we here," or something like that. When I tell you, I was so hyped. Look, when I was so hyped, bro. When I say I was so hyped that we got Justin Gilbert and Johnny Manziel. I was hyped we got Justin Gilbert because of all of the talk. He is the rawest prospect in the draft. He has some of the most elite speed that we've seen coming at the corner position. He could be deadly in the return game. I mean, I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about how hyped I was about this year because I love Johnny Manziel. I think Johnny Manziel got a raw deal here in Cleveland. But at the end of the day, he clearly was not committed to football, and he was just trying to get over with his talent, and that didn't work. And when we got Johnny Manziel, that was when stuff started to feel like everything was coming together. I don't know why we felt that way, why we were so convinced that things were starting to turn. I think it was because for once in our life, we finally had some players that weren't below average. Like, we weren't hyping ourselves up on some BS players, which they weren't great players by any, they weren't superstars or even all-stars. You know what I mean? But we had some players at this point. And we were like, man, if we could just have a quarterback, da-da-da-da-da. And I remember how Johnny Manziel completely ruined that season because we did start off good. Brian Hoyer had us looking so good, and the media and just kept clawing at the Johnny Manziel thing. And Brian Hoyer he clearly wasn't built for that type of noise, distraction, because at the first sign of something negative, an interception, the chatters was always rumbling. And I just think that unfortunately put a damper on Brian Hoyer's confidence and his ego and stuff like that. And ultimately, Jimmy Haslam made the call and wanted Manziel in no matter what. Mike Pennon, I very vividly remember, didn't want Manziel and didn't want to put Manziel in. There was, I remember listening to 92.3 The Fan, and Dante Whitner was on, and he talked about how Johnny Manziel ruined that season because everyone in that locker room believed that they were a playoff team, that they should have made the playoffs, and the fact that the ownership and the front office didn't believe in what was going on and they just had to throw Johnny Manziel in, it just killed everything. And I remember being so mad listening to that interview because that was the year that we were supposed to make it to the playoffs. We were supposed to be in the playoffs that year with Brian Hoyer, shockingly, right? With Brian Hoyer. But it's just disgusting to think about how over the years the Browns continuously, made bad pick after bad pick after bad pick. And I think it's kind of good for us to just go back and revisit that because a lot of people like to look back at Andrew Berry's draft picks and they like to say he's had a terrible draft when it's like, do you remember what terrible drafts honestly were? Like, just look back before the John Dorsey regime and the Andrew Berry regime and just look at how bad our drafting really was. So it's frustrating and annoying because it's like it's nowhere near as bad as it used to be. Because for decades we have always been bad at picking picks, and I think we finally are starting to break that cycle of terrible picks. And I think we've drafted fairly well over the past years, man. We've got all our pieces. We've got Myles Garrett. That was a first round pick. We had Baker. He did good for us. We got Denzel Ward, another first round pick. Greg Newsome was a first round pick. He's panning out. I mean, you look back at these first round picks that we've had now, and there's more hits than misses. Now, depending on what you qualify as a hit, that's on you. But at the end of the day, when it's all said and done, I'm super happy with the direction that this Cleveland Browns team is going. I'm super happy with Andrew Berry and the plug-in pieces that he's been getting. And there's only, I mean, it can't get much worse than what we've seen over the past 20 years. So I'm super excited for the season, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this little video. Obviously, it's a lot of me rambling and just kind of reminiscing on picks. So let me know what your guys' top 10 picks were. What was your worst pick in the NFL draft for the Cleveland Browns? Who was the worst pick that the Browns have ever drafted, in your opinion? Let me know in the comments, and I'll catch y'all on the next video, baby. Peace!